You're listening to the Lean Six Sigma for Good podcast. We help you learn how Lean and Six Sigma concepts can be applied to nonprofits, NGOs, and not-for-profit organizations. Visit us at leansixsigmaforgood.com. Welcome, everyone. Today I've got a great guest, Sammy Obara. He is a managing director at Honsha.org. Sammy, it was nice meeting you last week at ProcessPalooza in San Diego. I've wanted to talk to you for a while, so thanks for taking the time to join me today. Can you tell everyone a little bit about your background and process improvement and your work experience?
Yes, and thank you for having me today. I'm one of the faculty members with San Diego State University, but I also taught at UCSD, which is where we met the first time. My class is about Lean, root cause analysis, Kaizen, the culture of Kaizen leadership for Lean leaders. It's always around things I learned when I was with Toyota. I spent 13 years in Toyota in Brazil and Japan, Venezuela. I lived in Toyota City for 3 years before Toyota started a new venture in Venezuela. So I got trained for that purpose. And I came to the US about 29 years ago, to almost 30 now, and to learn English, to finish a master's degree. And there was supposedly 2 years of studying and leave of absence from Toyota. It turned out to be 30 years now, but it's been a great adventure and a blessing.
What was your background? Did you go to school for something specific that got you into Toyota, or?
Yes, it was right when I was finishing technical high school. In Brazil, there is a technical high school level that you study for 3 years, and then you can get a job. In my case, I needed to finish one internship for 1 extra year. That year, Toyota was experimentally opening up 2 slots for interns. Toyota in Brazil is the first Toyota outside Japan. It was everything experimental with a union company in a location which is diametrically opposed to Japan, different language and everything else. And they were trying for the first time to offer this internship program. So they gave me 1 year internship, which turned out to be then 13 more years of real life employment, 3 of which they sent me to Japan. My technical high school was in electromechanics. When I finished college in information systems and digital technology, which in the US equates to computer science or computer engineering.
Yeah.
Then they sent me to Japan to learn how to start up a new facility. So I got trained on how to convert this CKD, complete knockdown plant for Toyota. They were just assembling Land Cruisers and converting that into a full production facility owned by Toyota. So that was quite a challenge. And then after that, I went back to Brazil for 2 years. And then that's when I decided to finish some master's degree here in the Silicon Valley in San Jose, California. Long story short, the company was very expensive. California is not the cheapest place to live and study. There was a person I met in the airport in Detroit. After talking to him for a while, he said, if you come and work with us, we can give you the green card, we can give you this, and also sponsor your master's degree. That's when everything changed. I decided to stay in the US longer and do some work. Many other things happened, like universities coming to the organization I was helping and wanting me to teach at their educational facilities. I went to many campuses in the Silicon Valley and Southern California. And then UCSD and SDSU, I bumped into opportunities there and became a faculty member, guest speaker, guest lecturer. And that's what I do today, a lot of that. Yeah.
I see that you also spent time with LEI, and then I don't know if that's the same time you set up Honsha. but can you talk about your experience with setting up that organization, but also with LEI?
Lean Enterprise Institute invited me to be a faculty with them and run workshops, do some of their clients support. So I went to clients all over the world and spoke for the Lean Enterprise Institute in Hungary, Mexico, Brazil, and several other countries around the world. Poland, been there quite a few times. And I became a faculty member for them and their client partners. At that time, I was already running an alumni association for former Toyota professionals. We were inspired by a lot of the Lean community is very large and always ask us and my colleagues, my friends, how are things really done inside Toyota? And the question was so frequent that it came to a point where we said, well, maybe we should just write a book and make a website or do something that answers all those questions. This is, how it works internally. And it was just a step away from, the organization becoming a standard. A lot of companies come to us because of that relation and proximity to the source. And that's the reason why, we are called Honsha, because it's headquarters in Japanese, and that's where most of us had our beginnings, training, and development.
When you're in Brazil, since they were setting up and getting started, do you feel like, and then you went to Japan, how close did they get in Brazil with trying to replicate the culture? Or did you find a big difference when you went to Japan to see a more mature organization? Were they able to translate that into the Brazilian facilities?
Brazil is a country that's 24 times larger than Japan. And Japan is an island, so it's surrounded by water, isolated by language, by the way, because it's the only country in the world that speaks Japanese. And they have a very unique and protected culture. Brazil, on the other hand, it has its own culture, but it's a lot from immigrants. That there are so many different countries that immigrated to Brazil, and it speaks Portuguese, which is widely spoken. It's spoken in Asia, East Timor, for example. It's spoken in several countries in Africa. Portugal speaks Portuguese, believe it or not. Brazil is almost like a continent. It's so large and it can communicate with all Hispanic speaking countries. So you can imagine the easy to permeate any knowledge in Brazil. And Japan is the opposite, diametrically opposed to Brazil. There it is. And now, for example, it's 10 in the evening in Japan. It's a long answer to your short question, but it is a night and day, very different culture. The one thing I learned is that the company or corporate culture prevails above any country culture. The organization, the Toyota in Brazil, had very similar discipline, adherence to standards than we saw it in Toyota Japan. And, Brazilians, and I'm Brazilian, so I think I can speak about that, are very good at soccer, at samba, and so many other things. We're not the most disciplined people in the world. And still, we could produce excellent cars. At that time, we were just making the Land Cruisers, called BAM in Portuguese in Brazil. But with all the great techniques following the same production process and system that Toyota in Japan was using. That was, to me, a great discovery. The company culture is always much stronger than everything surrounding it.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it sounds similar to what Numi experienced when they set up the facility in Fremont, trying to get the GM company to adopt the Toyota culture. It needed to prevail over the American workers and managers primarily, but have that flexibility to change things to say we have a different workforce and how do we adopt some of the cultural things to acclimate better, but also keep our key priorities or principles.
Yes, I think that's probably the strongest example of how a corporate culture is much stronger than past history because that plant, NUMI is New United Motor Manufacturing Incorporated, how that joint venture taking an older General Motors facility with bad history and considered bad workforce, but of course that was due to the bad systems. But how they could turn that around and become the best managed General Motors. Of course, it was a joint venture, but in terms of results, morale, and culturally speaking, it was a 180-degree improvement.
Yeah, it's a great story. And I think that was really key to show that this works outside of Japan. It's not a Japan only thing or their culture is only ones who can do this. It's really showed the importance of the management and the system, like you said, that is needed. The people can adapt to that no matter where they're from.
Yes, and the opposite is true also because we take people to Japan twice, sometimes three times a year. One of our guest speakers and partners, Mr. Hiro Yoshiki, he during one dinner, he said one thing that, it's so true. He said he was a high-level executive in many countries, but then he came back to Japan and he needed to turn around one of the plants he was assigned to. He said, the Japanese culture is not the answer because I went to this company and the results were not very good, were terrible. Thinking that just because it's in Japan, culture is different and everything is easier, lean is almost natural. It's not that. So it is a combination of great leadership, but also the surrounding culture has a little effect in the beginning, but it's really the corporate culture that will set the standards, pace, values, expectations.
Yeah, that's great. So what got you pulled into some of your projects in other countries, or maybe some of the work with NGOs? How did you get involved in some of those activities and teaching, maybe supporting some of their initiatives?
Well, I got exposed a lot of needs around the world, but sometimes we cannot see, not even in our own neighborhood. It's a different reality. It's a different world from where you live. It's not your day-to-day thing that you see, well, I need to help these people. Sometimes they are behind walls. I saw that there is a need to bring these people to the top of a mountain so a lot of people can see the needs. And then how can you make sure that the people who see the needs can see where they can fill those gaps? I had this thought because my older sister, she is a dentist and became a missionary in the Amazon. She would go there with the indigenous people and help them with their dental needs. And then I started seeing, wow, there's so many things that we don't even imagine people need, but we have plenty of. We are throwing a lot of that in the trash. That made me think, what are the places where things I don't value a lot of can make a difference in the world? And I noticed there are so many. East Timor is a great example. I didn't know that they needed so much help, and there were so few people that could fill those gaps. Then I learned they speak Portuguese. That's something I speak. I was born in Brazil. That's my first language. So maybe I can help. That already showed me there are so many things besides just language. Anything that you learn in school, and in my case, from Toyota, I think I can help with medication distribution and with the childcare system that they have there. They had groceries or retail things that they needed to borrow money to run a business. In Toyota, we learned so much about maybe instead of borrowing, make sure first you lower your cost. Maybe you don't need to borrow that much. By not needing that much inventory, you can do your turns a lot better. And those kind of things showed me we just need to make things more visible. Specifically for that, we separate part of our publications to fund those types of initiatives and bring more visibility towards communities in need. That's how things got started.
Did you have a contact or someone in East Timor that you found out about some of these challenges or problems? How did you get aware of that country?
Yes, I had a contact supporting some organizations there, but she was living in Brazil. At that time, I was going to Brazil almost every month or twice a month. So I started learning more of the needs they had specifically. One of my uncles, a former chief, Boy Scout, Eagle Scout, spent some time there and started giving me some of their needs. And I said, well, if that's all it takes, I think I already have that. I have a little knowledge and I speak the language. I have some weeks vacation. Let me give it a try. That's how I got connected to the people locally.
And you were talking about distributing medical supplies. So was it a matter of helping them map out their processes or teach them how to manage their inventory or to remove waste in the process? What did you find most helpful for them?
Yes, it was all of them. In the beginning, we used the Toyota approach. They call it Genchi Genbutsu, which is you go there and see, you understand everything before you make a plan, meaning this is part of the plan. So deep understanding of what they need. And just by helping them see waste better. For example, they will that not too many roads are paved or with asphalt and they are easy to travel. But then they take the van, we fill with medicine, and we go there and distribute for one full day. And then we come back, fill the van again, and go to a different village. You start seeing how much medicine we need for that village A and then village B and village C is proportional to the times or the frequency that you go there the next time. So your medicines today will have to last until next time you come. Ideally, you would come back every single day and distribute just one day's worth of medicine. Oh, but that's too long. It's too much. You're adding a lot of trips and then coming back and then all the way here and coming back. Because every time you come back empty and you're taking so much. And many times what you take is not enough. You have to do a second trip before it's the next week. And then they started thinking, wow, so what if we do, in Toyota, they call it milk run. So what if you take just a person per day for each place and you do that again? So by the time you come back, it's very little, dead weight when you travel empty. So we try to do that, and we are always understanding what's the needs for each one of the communities. Wow, but do we spend more time in gas? Well, more time and money. And they found out no. We have a lot more agility to fulfill their needs. Our inventory in the headquarters doesn't need to be that much. There was inventory that was expiring. Most of the inventory was very close to expiration because donors would donate things that are about to expire, but it's the oldest inventory that they say, it's going to expire in a month. So you have the immediate needs. So we can't afford to have expired inventory in something that's so valuable to those communities. We map the process, we map the routes, we map how much inventory you will need to fulfill their needs, not having more than that, so you have less waste. And that's how we started.
Yeah, the difficulty of trying to guess how much need you have in 30 days and supply all that at once is not realistic. To be able to make more frequent trips in smaller amounts and give them exactly what they need. Yeah, people don't see all that waste and inefficiencies and the trips back and forth. They could go and hit multiple places a day and be more responsive and lower inventory for everyone. It's not intuitive until you really think about an alternate way of doing it and realize there is a better way and it works much better and easier, hopefully.
Yeah, this just-in-time thing has so much more to it than just lowering cost. We learned that by doing it in smaller batches, when people receive something that's enough for the day, they treasure that a lot more than if they get a thing for a week or a month, and then they lose a few and they misplace, and then they see, well, I have this, and I know that by tomorrow I'm going to receive another dose for another day. They treasure that. They don't treat it as abundant resource, because whenever we have that abundance, the image of abundance here, I think people do not treasure that much what they receive.
Let me pause for a moment to tell you about our sponsor. Creative Safety Supply is a great resource for free guides, infographics, and continuous improvement tools. I recommend starting with their 5S guide. It includes breakdowns of the 5 pillars, ways to begin implementing 5S, and even organization tips and color charts. From red tags to floor markings, it's all there. Download it for free at creativesafetysupply.com/5S. And then did that expand your work into other countries too and similar types of projects, or did you continue to work with them on other processes?
I did some work with them through other processes. I helped a restaurant in East Timor, the inventory control in one of the retail stores there, about 2 hours from Delhi, the capital. That was remote. After I came back from East Timor, I did that through emails. But other countries I did with Kenya, for example. I spent some time in Mombasa, some time in Nairobi. That was through one client I had in Salt Lake City, and they were already doing some work there. I was training the client in Salt Lake City. They made synthetic diamonds. The name of the company is US Synthetic, which is a tremendous organization. The CEO was already going there yearly and taking his senior level staff to do the same thing. I thought, I'm doing this for this company already. It wouldn't hurt doing that for this community in need. So I did that for a microfinance organization in Kenya, and also for a coconut oil extraction organization there too. They would extract oil from coconuts and then send back to Europe and the US and Canada. And there's so much that people like us, we studied some lean, some TPS, some waste reduction, root cause analysis, so much that we can do with a fraction of what we know. That helps them. It is amazing.
Yeah, that's great. Do you want to share some of your slides?
It gives me a lot of pleasure to share what's been done there. Okay, so here is what we call Lean for Hope. It's arm of Honsha that we helped institutions all over the world. Some of the pictures here show our people, volunteers from Honsha Sensei, who work as consultants, but on weekends and many times during weekdays, they promote support in organizations needing help. Sometimes support for the elderly, disabled, kids, and for refugees. This one here is from the Amazon. And this is just a brief collection of pictures of places where we've been to. I had the pleasure to go there myself. This is my older sister who lives in the Amazon. So she's been there for so many years, probably over 30 years. This is from East Timor. When I spent some time there, my mission was to help the retail and inventory control. And in this case, for this retail organization, they had plenty of things that would last them years and had to get loans from banks to then keep stuff there for so many years. And this is just one example. But I also worked it's a gas station. They have a lot of motorcycles and combustion bikes. And this is the gas station, a child care facility. This is the one I told you about. And this is just real life in that country. Mombasa was another great example. I thought it was an excellent lesson for myself personally. It can change your life. This year is a microfinancing for women only, women that were explored, abused, so they could borrow money. And from this bank, this is the bank, and I don't know if you can see the calculator here. That's the highest level of technology that they have in that micro lending business.
Wow.
So women can purchase a generator, electrical generator, and keep bananas from spoiling for a little bit longer than 2 or 3 days so they can sell or even eat them. Speaking of technology, this year is their records. That's the closest that they are to our Excel spreadsheets. And I'll also spend some time with a coconut farmer. They purchase coconut from all over that region, and then they processed to get coconut oil out of it. But if you see the inventory levels in that patio, they had 60% losses from coconut that was spoiling. And then we showed them this bags and we said, hey, you're gonna have 16 bags, fill those bags and stop bringing in more coconuts. Stop buying coconuts. And as we say in Toyota, the obsolescence comes, worried or not. But then we have a saying there that is, if you want to keep milk from turning sour, keep it in the cow, which means you don't take the coconut out of the tree until you really need it. And by bringing or filling 16 bags of coconut, that's what you can process in one day. Don't take more because you won't be able to process within our productive time. So by doing that, they eliminated some of their waste. Now we have opening coconut as one process. We have another process doing exactly the same thing. Whenever we have two processes doing the same thing with inventory before and after, upstream and downstream, then you're quadrupling the number of inventory. In this case, you can also see the machete that she has and the way that they are happy working and singing and breaking the coconut shell at the same time. It's frightening. They are talking about the day and singing, but not only that is bad, but also having these two processes of cracking coconut shells. They send the coconut here to be processed or grated. So they have to grate the coconut so they can then press the coconut here in this press. But before they go straight to pressing the coconut and extracting oil, if they do it right away after they grate here, the press is going to extract not only oil, but it's going to be mixed with water. So before you do that, you have to bring it back to this little room and burn the coconut so you can get dried coconut and then extract pure oil. But the other thing we notice is that these places here that you see that are a little bit darker, these are the surface areas that are not covered with coconut. So they take more heat. While you have some other places here that the coconut is piled up to a level where it doesn't dry too much. So it's not very homogeneous. And because of that, they had 40% losses in, in coconut that was contaminated with humidity. We taught them that they could use smaller ovens, smaller plates that they can do smaller batches, have coconut dry a lot faster. It's more homogeneous. And then we finally would bring the coconut here for pressing. But the presses are so huge. They are a purse size type of press. We required the strongest person in the village. It was amazingly hard for him to extract a few liters of
Wow.
coconut oil. But after that, once they started reducing the batch size, even the older ladies, the smaller people, smaller ladies, even kids, but the smaller ladies that were doing the cracking of the coconut oil, or the coconut shell, they would come here and press. They wouldn't need to rely on the strongest person in the village anymore. And finally, we would take that oil and fill some buckets that would be ready to ship to another packaging facility in the central area in Mombasa and Nairobi. But then they had to check every single day inventory control, inventory levels, and all those things. And that would require a lot of counting, inventory physical counting. So they would count every month, 30 hours a month of opening the buckets, of counting. And we taught them how to use charts, how to do inventory control without having any technology. They thought, wow, this is extra work. Before I didn't need to do any of that. But in no time, it was very natural that after a month or two, they would say, wow, this is saving us so much time. We're not even counting or triple counting things anymore. Just by looking at the charts, we already know how much we have. We talk to the people who come to pick up the products, a work in process or semi-finished goods. And we can tell them already what size of truck, how much room they have to bring, to accommodate all the inventory we produced. You can see some examples here. The way we support this initiative, I'll just show you, unfortunately, it's not in sequence here, but it's through a series of publications that we have that's called the Lean Hope publications. 100% of the margins on any of these publications, they go to fund those initiatives. Some of them are in different languages for different countries, and some you can even see from the logos, they are specific for different industries. Some sectors ask us for comic books or publications specifically for their people. But that's pretty much it. At least now you have an idea of how ecosystem works, how we support, and why we do that.
Yeah, that was really cool. I like seeing these fundamental processes that every village and country can take with the natural resources they have. I got a chance to spend time in a small island in the Pacific called Micronesia and a specific island called Koshrai, and they made banana paper out of banana trees. It was a simple process of cutting down the tree, stripping the bark off, making strips, mashing it up, and creating paper. And they turned it into wallets and other paper products. But in those locations, it seems like if those industries can grow and become a source of labor and a profitable business, then it has just as much help to that community as providing financial aid or humanitarian aid. Just giving them an opportunity to earn money and learn these skills is so valuable in some of these places where business is not very well established, or there aren't that many businesses where they can be self-sufficient. It's almost like helping some of these organizations build a business with best practices and learning some of these methods to keep their costs down and not have so much wasted labor and wasted materials, I think is so valuable. So that's really cool to
Yeah.
see.
We coincidentally tried to do the same thing with banana leaves from Brazil. There were an artisan there doing exactly that, but not transforming paper products, but in some ornaments for the house. That didn't go through fruition, but we were trying to marry the needs of East Timor and the abundance of labor that they have there, idle labor, with that type of activity. Unfortunately, for several reasons, it didn't pan out, but I like that type of thinking because somebody said, and I forgot the name of the philosopher, the best social cause is to provide employment. Whenever you find ways to keep people busy with a purpose, not just busy, then you're changing their lives and the country, the economy.
And especially to do it in a safer way so they don't harm themselves. They're not hurting themselves on the press or cutting their fingers with the machete. I think it's always important that people leave just as healthy and safe as when they came in. each day. And so I like the examples you have of trying to help them come up with better, safer options and better ergonomics to make the work better and safer. It's not just taking advantage of the labor, but making sure that it's something they can do over and over again and not have damage to their body or hurt themselves.
This is extremely important. Sometimes we need to understand a little bit more of the local laws, local culture. There are things that you cannot do. There are things that might be controversial in some rooms in the US because sometimes we believe everybody should follow the laws that we have in our country for several reasons. Sometimes it's religious, sometimes it's different beliefs, but we have to be respectful to the way they do things.
I think that's an important thing as part of the respect for humanity as well. It's understanding cultures and trying to change behaviors and cultures, but also respecting what is existing there and working with that or trying to align what we're trying to accomplish or help them with what they already know and believe and support. But yeah, I could see where that could conflict sometimes too.
Yeah. But it's been a very interesting journey. I think this is a place where more and more entrepreneurs, business people, like executives and leaders are starting to pay more attention. I believe there is still a big gap between what we can do for people and what they need. Sometimes we have exactly what they need and we know we can do it, but we don't know who needs that. Getting those communities on top of that mountain where everybody can see is a crusade.
How was the response from the people you worked with? Were they open to the ideas? Were they excited to learn, or there was a lot of resistance initially? How did people handle some of the ideas and teaching and work that you were bringing in?
In Africa, it's almost like you're an outsider. You know, I'm from the skin color. You get there, everybody starts, hey, who's that guy? I'm not in agriculture. The closest I got to coconut was to be a consumer, but never cracked a coconut shell. And then they start seeing, hey, what is this guy trying to teach us? We've been doing this for generations. And now this guy who's visibly, he's not from here. He's an Asian guy. It is a natural initial resistance. Yes, I can't hide that fact. But after when they start following what you're teaching, you need to teach with a great level of didactics, patience, to show them, well, let's just try to influence them. And they would do it out of respect, out of a little friendship, but not out of trust. No, they are still skeptical until maybe 3, 4, 5 times, and they see, oh, wait a minute. I think he's right. Look, smaller batches, we have less losses. So all those coconuts that we had to process before, we have to process a lot less and get same results. It's less effort, but it takes time because you're lowering resistance through trial and error and proofing of concept. And then they say, yeah, that guy knows a little bit about process. So smaller batches is working better. Let's do. When the chief of that tribe says that, then everybody follows. When a foreigner comes there and tries the same thing, it requires a convincing ability. I still don't have it, but I learned a little bit more about that by spending my time there.
And I think that's similar resistance anywhere, especially when it's someone who's perceived as being further away from understanding their work, their culture, their needs, and their challenges. It seems like the same way we can convince others is through experience, practice, implementation, and data, getting people to see, oh, this is easier, this is nicer, I do like this. So actual results changes minds, yes.
It's true. One thing I found very interesting is that when people in the US, the first economy in the world, think we are far ahead from places like that with very little technology and knowledge. We go to several companies, and many times people will say, we don't have anything to learn. It's a different reality. But if you bring up the fancy spreadsheets that people have, and I have a few examples of those where they can put all the numbers very accurately, and then you show this is beautiful. You do in Excel, it gets all things aligned, same font size, nothing like the ones we saw in Africa. But how come you listed all the reasons here for pieces lost and downtime in your machine? If you see the reasons for that, how many times are they repeating for days, for months? Look at the previous shift. You stopped for the same reason. And chances are last year you also did the same thing. And 2 years, 3 years ago. So that means you can do fancy stuff, but your mentality is not lean yet because you're not removing each one of those justifications or reasons at its root cause. So the root cause is still there. It's still causing pieces lost, downtime for the same reason. So how come we think we are much better? You might as well just do that on a piece of napkin because it's not helping you improve. You're just keeping records of something and repeating the same mistakes from yesterday.
Yeah, just better record keeping and charting. That's not
Not
necessarily
raising
improving.
awareness.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Well, great. Thanks, Sammy. How can people reach you? What's the best way?
They can visit honsha.org or contact me via email, S as in Sam, Obara @honsha.org.
Okay.
And I'll be glad I respond 100% of all the emails I receive. So feel free to contact me. We need more people for Lean for Hope.
Yes, that's great. They can find the books on the Honsha website.
Yes, and actually, those books, Toyota
Mhm.
by Toyota,
Yep.
they are right here. So those are supporting Lean for Hope. Whenever you purchase, you can go to Amazon, Toyota by Toyota. Co-editors are Daryl Wilburn and Sammy Obara. You can purchase them. They were published in quite a few languages.
I think that's maybe where I first learned about you because Patrick Mueller, our friend in common, wrote a chapter, and I think I got the book to read his chapter, and then we got tied in through all that. So yeah, it's been out for quite a few years now. Great book to check out and learn from many different Toyota former employees and their experiences and working in many different countries that have common principles and methodologies they're using. Very neat.
Yeah, next time, please read my chapter too.
Oh yeah, I read all of them, but that was the reason I got it was to read Patrick's chapter.
My chapter talks about how Toyota eliminated mosquitoes in Thailand. They eliminated mosquitoes from the Thailand facility where they made engines for vehicles.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like how it applies to any kind of problem.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes
Yes.
or coconuts or making cars and vehicles. And then Lean for Hope is on the Honsha website as well? Or is that a separate website?
Yes, and once a year we do Lean for Hope Connections where we bring in people or organizations that are implementing Lean, and they are usually NGOs from all sectors, from recycling to plantations. There are several different sectors that we are helping. And yeah, Lean for Hope Connections is coming up in 2 months.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time, and it's great getting to meet you in person, and thanks for being a guest.
Thank you for inviting me, Brian. We will stay in touch.
Okay, sounds great.
Talk to you soon.
If you like this topic, please check out the Lean Six Sigma for Good book series with the subtitle Lessons from La Gemba. We now have both Volume 1 and Volume 2 in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. Each volume has 8 chapters written by different Lean Six Sigma practitioners who have applied their skills to nonprofits, NGOs, not-for-profit organizations, and government agencies. Proceeds from the book sales are split evenly and go to the nonprofit selected by each author. Go to lean6sigmaforgood.com or search Amazon for Lean Six Sigma for Good. These books make a great gift for your process improvement team or someone you know who works at a not-for-profit organization.